Hello and welcome to another segment of Interviews That Matter. Friends, in this segment, we bring guests who influence our lives. This includes elected officials, policymakers, heads of various organizations, and other dignitaries. It is my sincere hope that the shared knowledge by these people helps our community. Today, we have such our guest who has dedicated her life to the students, actually, high school students. Her name is Dr. Miriam Rafailovich. She is the Distinguished Professor and Co-Director Program in Chemical and Molecular Engineering, Department of Material Science of Engineering at Stony Brook University. And also, she is a Chief Scientist at the Advanced Energy Center at Stony Brook University. She is also one of the founder or one of the main person at the Garcia Science Research Center, which is very popular among South Asians, and a lot of students go over there. So just wanted to, we are talking today with her. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So let's begin with, obviously, we're interested in Garcia, Materials Research and Science Energy and Engineering Center. It's been almost 10 years, so how it evolved, how it started, and who started it, and whose brainchild was that?
It evolved very gradually. Our first student, in fact, was a young man who just walked in and said, "I'd like to do research with you." He was the son of Vietnamese immigrants who had come over to the United States on a boat. They were rescued from the South China Sea.
Wow.
And brought to the United States. His parents were buttonhole finishers for Bloomingdale, and he wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
So we started to work with him, and we realized how much talent there was with high school students.
Mm-hmm.
That was in our very first year. The following year, he brought his girlfriend.
Okay.
And that's how the program grew.
So then you started with one person, and
Yeah.
who was how did it get funded from the year one? Was the Stony Brook University obviously supporting you?
No, the program was never really funded separately. It's a unique program where there's no specific funding for the high school students. Mm-hmm. We are funded by the National Science Foundation to perform research.
Okay.
And the research we do is evaluated to be at the cutting edge of material science. Mm-hmm. At the end of the year, it's assessed by how many publications, how many patents that it created, not really by how many high school students participated.
Oh.
But we found very early on that the more people that participated, the better the science.
Okay.
Everybody had a role.
So you have, I know you have more than 375 publications and many patents over a period of 10 years. So now we started with one applicant from Vietnam, and how many applicants are today, this year?
This year, we unfortunately have more than 300 applicants.
Wow.
And
Wow.
It's a terrible thing because each one of these students is an amazing student somewhere in the United States. And it's very difficult to choose 60 from those.
Wow. So you have 60, you have room for 60 students.
We
Research.
have room, physical room. We'd love to be able to take more, but we have physical room for only 60 students.
Wow. So it's out of 300, you have to choose 60, and other 240.
We have to choose 60, which is a very difficult decision.
So it must be very competitive, I guess.
It's very hard. This is the hardest period of the year when we're choosing.
Wow.
Once the students have arrived, then it's pure fun.
Wow. Okay, and I'm sure that those students, they really, I know, and I know you personally, obviously, I came to know you rather last year, and you're really a dedicated person, and I really appreciate what you do for every student that comes under you. And I know that you've got so many PhD students also under you and get trained and got their PhDs, about 35 of them, I guess.
Yes. The way the program works, it's an integrated research program where every student participates to the best of his ability. Mm-hmm. So the projects, you'll see people working together, faculty, graduate students, postdoctoral students, undergraduates, high school students, and even high school teachers. We all work together. We are problem driven, and everybody contributes to the best that he can. And what's interesting is that it's really an upside down pyramid. It's not like the idea comes from the professor and then trickles down. Very often the idea actually comes from the high school student.
Wow, okay.
High school students are not bound by tradition or by we can't do it because it wasn't done. They just, anything, and especially in America, kids feel that they can do anything.
Imagination.
Imagination.
Right. Yeah.
And if they imagined it, then somehow it can be done. So we work with the students and we figure out maybe it can. And the way that the high school students participate is especially if they have a crazy idea. The graduate student doesn't want to try it. I want to finish my degree. I want to get out of here. Sort of, let me do.
That's the difference between high school and a graduate student.
Yes. The high school student, the crazier the idea, the more eager they are to try it.
Wow, wow. So over a period of time, I mean, you have so many students came under you and got trained. And obviously, they are now doing something out there somewhere in the world.
Yes, the graduate students are professors, or they're in industry or in academia all over the world. That's true. But later on, as they got to know the high school program, they realized its value. Because now they call the high school students canaries. Like when you go down to a mine, you want to see if there's oxygen there, you send the birds down. They have the high school student tries a project.
Wow, okay.
If it works, then everybody's amazed because they're usually very, very out there. They're really at the cutting edge. And if it works, that high school student will have 5 graduate students wanting to repeat what he did and write a paper and get credit. And if it doesn't work, at least the high school student had fun, tried something new, and experimented.
And it's a lot of learning experience for the students actually, which they have never used certain kind of equipment, certain kind of thing. Now they get a chance to really do it over at the, at the Garcia Center. I mean, that's amazing for them. It's a good experience for them.
For the high school students, an experience. Whether it works or not, they had fun.
Right.
And a lot of the projects that we had were, and I'll give you a specific example from 2 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, 2 summers ago. We had Dr. Brooke Ellison. Now she just got her PhD. Brooke Ellison is quite famous. They made the movie, The Brooke Ellison Story, about her. She's a resident of Stony Brook, and she was hit by a car crossing the street when she was 12.
Oh boy.
And she became a quadriplegic. Despite that, she graduated at the top of her high school class. She went to Harvard, graduated summa cum laude, ran for the state senate,
Right.
and spent her life advocating for stem cell research with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, wow, okay.
Brooke is responsible for Stony Brook being awarded a large stem cell grant from the state of New York.
Okay.
And she has, if you see her, she's completely mobile, and she can move around on her own, and she can speak, she sends emails, you can't really tell.
That
the
she
handicap has not really handicapped her mind.
Wow.
So her secret really is something known as a tongue touch keypad that she has in her mouth that she moves with her tongue. The company who made this went out of business, and she needed the battery replaced. So she came to our center.
Right.
And everybody's like, what are we going to do now? Panic. 2 high school kids. Oh, what's the big deal? You could buy one of those things, you just put it on, it recharges automatically. And we thought, they have something. Why?
That's great.
Why should we change batteries? We can install something now that we can wirelessly recharge it in her mouth, that she never has to have any interruptions.
Wow, that's great.
But they're kids, so now you need a dentist to do it. You need somebody in electrical engineering to design the circuit. The kids put together a group. They ran from the dental school to the CWIT, Center for Wireless Technology, where they had Dr. Sharma, and then they had Dr. Aaron Siegel from the dental school.
Right.
And before you knew it, they had put together a group, and Brooke had a device that was now running on a wirelessly rechargeable battery.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a story, it's really amazing story. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure there are many, many projects that are like this. And, do you want to tell us something about those, other projects, like mostly what do you work on?
Yes, this was a project in electronics. The other projects, which again, were started by students, this is a joint project that we have with the School of Dental Medicine. And in fact, that project, as we were speaking, is under the guise of Professor Marcia Simon. She has something called the Living Skin Bank. They do tissue engineering. And the person working with the students is Anil Barwani.
Oh, okay.
And he is an orthodontist. So the projects that they do over there is they try to engineer constructs to regenerate teeth using materials and stem cells. So the students are actually working with stem cells and seeing how nanotechnology can induce the stem cells to spontaneously differentiate and regenerate.
Wow, okay.
So in fact, I just was texted the other day that two of Anil's students won some competition. I think it's called iSweep. It's yet another competition.
Oh, okay.
where they presented this. But more important than competition, their work will be presented in May at the New York State Stem Cell Conference in New York City.
Wow. So, like there are layers and layers and layers of research goes on, and then at the end of the day, you may have, there will be a commercial applicability, so that, I know one project for sure that, there are like, when you lose a tooth, that, you can really grow your own teeth. That kind of research is going on under, in Garcia Center also.
Yes.
So obviously, it's amazing that we can grow our own teeth.
Not yet. We're not quite there
Not yet.
but that's our goal.
That's a goal, right?
We're trying to do work with materials so that your body's own cells will then regenerate the tooth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so helpful. I mean, then you don't have to worry about going to the dentist for implants.
Yes. But you can see that this kind of project is a collaborative project that involves materials, engineering from Garcia.
Right.
It involves a lot of cell biology, which we have with our partners in the dental school and Dr. Simon. And it involves basically the hard work of the graduate students that work with each other and who in turn mentor these students. Yeah,
I mean, these are the students who really make this thing work. I mean, that's amazing. People many times don't know what's going on there, right? I mean, it's amazing how it comes out.
It's very complex. The other people involved, we have a program from Suffolk Community College, Professor Vladimir Yurakovsky.
Oh, okay.
And he mentored 5 students. Every one of them won something last year.
Wow.
Because they were mostly within trying to understand different parameters that trigger these stem cells to differentiate. It's materials, it's mechanics, it's morphology, it's all the complicated features of your body that we don't even appreciate that exist.
We know it works, right?
We know it works.
That's all we care.
That's right. But if you try to reproduce it, you stand in awe of the complexity.
Wow. So over a period of time, I mean, I know that, the program has been very successful in producing a lot of Intel semi-finalists, Intel finalists, Siemens semi-finalists and finalists. So can you give us a rundown of, how many approximate that came out of your center?
Again, as we were saying, we don't really keep track because our goal is actually in papers that these students write in peer-reviewed journals. But roughly, we typically have maybe 1 Intel finalist a year, so that would be about 10 over the last 10 years, approximately.
Approximately, okay.
And then we have something like, I don't know, maybe 8 Intel semi-finalists per year, roughly again. Some from New York, but now from all over the country. And among the Siemens, it's countless. It's like maybe 20 a year. So
wow, okay.
Totally lose count. The Siemens is it's larger now. But what we're more proud is, for example, this year, There's a paper two papers were published, one in biomacromolecules and another one in thrombosis and homeostasis. These are premier journals. And this was a collaboration with Dennis Galanakis, director of the blood bank at Stony Brook. It was a project started by 2 high school students 4 years ago. And those students postulated what causes blood clots in stents when they're inserted.
Wow.
It was, again, driven by high school students, later on shepherded by a graduate student, Cha Sung-koo, became part of his thesis.
Right, right.
The students one went to Yale, one went to Harvard. They're just graduating now.
That's great.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm saying. When they, they become finalists and semifinalists, that does help them into their career in future, obviously, right?
Exactly. It helped shape it.
It helps shape it.
And they translated this technology from the laboratory into a patent this year as well.
Wow, wow, wow. And one thing I tell you, I've heard a lot about you, obviously. I mean, you are a very dedicated person, and I've heard that, when the final days come for, filling out these forms and all that, students stay at your home.
Yes, well, that's the beginning. That's the hardest part. When the students join our research program, they say, how long does it take? And we tell them for life. They start in our home and doing scrambling to meet their first Siemens deadline early on in the year.
Right, right.
But later on they come back, because later on they have other deadlines, college applications.
Yes, that's true.
And then when they're in college, we've had students who've won competitions for patents. Every year we place several students in the Wharton Business Program.
Wow, okay.
So they have some kind of patent competition, and they come back and they put their work. We see students now coming for their PhD degrees at Stony Brook,
right.
interns in the medical school. And sometimes they come back to the project they started in high school and they complete it, and then they bring out full-fledged to their PhD thesis later on.
That's great, that's great. I mean, now I'm sure that, South Asian population is a big mix in your program. And can you tell us something about it? I mean,
what's interesting is that recently, I don't know how, but we're getting a huge amount of applicants from outside of New York.
Oh, okay.
From Mississippi, from Seattle, Washington, D.C., almost every state in the country.
Wow, that's great.
And yet, when you look at the names, we're not really getting Mississippians, we're getting South Asian.
Wow. So from other state, but it's South Asian.
South Asian,
mostly.
The demographics of the students who come still remains very, very much the same.
And I know that you have as far as Taiwan, people are coming from there.
Yes, we have people from Taiwan. We've had this year we've had applicants from Korea. We have just about people from India, from Pakistan.
Wow.
From just about every ethnic group. We've had Jain, a lot of Jain students. We have Sikh students. We have North Indian, South Indian.
Everybody.
Everybody.
All a mix.
Everybody, yeah.
But that's the majority of a lot of people are coming from South Asian, right? I mean, a lot of students.
I would say the kids are basically first generation Americans. Many of them are born here.
Right.
But they are the children of immigrants. And the South Asian population is at least 30 or 40% of the program.
Wow, that's great. That's great, actually. Now you said, this year you have more than 300 applicants, and you have only room for 60. And it's very difficult to reject some of those, worthy students, which is really good, but you cannot accommodate because of the space. How do you see yourself expanding the program? Is there a way to expand the program, or do you plan to do that?
We'd love to expand the program. We need to have physical space where to expand it.
Okay.
The program doesn't really have like an established home. We're sort of in hallways and labs at the university. And second, we're applying for an increase in federal grants so that we can accommodate more students.
Okay. So these are all dependent on those two factors.
Yes, it's very much dependent on those two factors, because without specific funding. Till now, we didn't have specific funding for the program. It was done sort of on the side. It's really mostly was done on a volunteer basis. But when we started to have to manage more than 100 people each summer, we needed at least a professional administrator.
Right.
So we are now recruiting a professional administrator.
And you have like 24/7 labs, or
Yes.
open all the time, and students are there all the time. So you have to really, kind of make sure that there are people there to take care of them and all that kind
Yes,
of thing.
safety is
safety
really
is important.
a very important concern, and we work with people from environmental health and safety very closely at the university, and we ensure that the students are supervised at all times. So especially when we run 24 hours, we need trained people with them constantly.
So normally, seniors come, like people, students who are high school students are going into seniors.
Yes,
there.
we have an age restriction. They have to be at least 16 years old.
Okay.
Which tends to make it predominantly students going into their senior year. So that's something very difficult to explain to parents, because they'll tell us, but my child is very gifted. So we have to say, I understand, but does he drive a car? No, he's only 14, same thing. We have very strict regulations, again, because of safety and what they're physically mature enough to handle in terms of chemicals.
Right, yeah. So I really, appreciate your time coming in here, and obviously we are really proud of you that you're, running a great center, and it's really, there's a lot of reputation everywhere, that I've heard and I've seen.
Thank you. No, we're very glad to make a difference, because we feel that we've already, I think we've had an impact on science education on Long Island, because Long Island has traditionally been very appreciative of
Yes.
research opportunities for its high schools, even before we came around.
Okay.
You had Mrs. Melanie Krieger from Ward Melville has been doing this for more than 30 years. She's retired now. Alan Sachs has been the LICEF network. Long Island has a very long tradition. And because of programs like ours, they've changed the curriculum in the schools to emphasize awareness of research among students. And that's very important, because people don't realize how early children now have to select their professions. It's not like it used to be that you can enter college and spend 4 years having fun and then decide what you want to major in.
Right.
They have to know now almost before they go into college.
Right, yes, I agree.
And programs like ours give them the ability to decide. Even the students who work with us and then say, boy, I hate science. That's fine.
Well, at least they know now.
At least they know before they spend the next 4
Right.
years doing something that won't be good.
That helps, actually. That helps. And I know it's really very important for a South Asian community anyway, because we are very much focused on educating our children to make sure that they are the next generation. Obviously they want to make they are there to make a difference in the society where we live here, right? And Garcia plays a bigger center. I mean, I know many kids who went through your program, and they are like very successful now.
We did a survey of over the past 10 years, like what careers do the graduates, students who are old enough now to have graduated college.
Okay.
And we found something like about 40% are in medical school.
Wow, okay.
There's about the other maybe 30% of the minority are in academia,
Okay.
in PhD programs. And there's a smattering. There's one girl who became a professional ballerina for the Joffrey Ballet.
Wow.
We have all different kinds. Somebody is a professional diplomat, George Washington School of Diplomacy. But even among the ones who are in medicine, a much higher fraction than average are in the MD, PhD programs.
Okay.
And we hope, especially those that have entered into business, the very large fraction of students who are in business,
Oh yeah, okay.
that those students have an appreciation of research. Because people who are in business are really the ones who are going to be the leaders
Right.
who are going to drive the economy in the
Right.
future.
Yep.
And one of the bad things about the some of the business leaders in the United States, we were told the first thing they used to teach you in business school, if you need to raise money, cancel the research program.
That's too bad.
And that's misguided. So we hope that
yeah.
these students who are going to be the future leaders
Yep.
actually value research now in terms of corporate America.
Because of research only, I mean, whatever we are, like enjoying, because of the research was done like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That's how we are enjoying the fruits now.
Exactly.
So obviously that's a very integral part, an important part in everywhere, actually.
It's something very important to learn because the research does not give you a benefit immediately. It doesn't show up in the stock options in the next 6 months.
Right.
But it takes someone who's educated to appreciate that.
Right. I agree.
And that's what we hope that we've imparted our students. As I was saying before, the statistics are 40% medicine, 39% medicine, 41% business.
Wow. Okay, so that's great actually.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they owe you something. They owe the center something.
Well, no, we're just happy
They owe
right
means,
now.
they are, they are successful, obviously. That's what you want. Basically.
Yes, they are. They're successful. We keep in contact with them. And we are very happy that they were able to translate their science knowledge into practical experience.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. And if anyone has any comments, questions, they can always email me at rajmitv@gmail.com. Again, it's rajmitv@gmail.com. And until next time, we'll see you. Thank you.